This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and today we are going to have a miscellaneous issues day again. As seen as things seem to be more or less, what should I say, dull at the moment. Not a heck of a lot going on. Field McConnell is back, did one of his daily monologues. And this will continue, I suppose, until his canteen money runs out. But he got into, initially, an old conspiracy theory that he's had for years. And so nothing's changed on that front. He did admit to being on an emotional roller coaster, but that's as far as I got with the monologue, where I had to start my daily drive down to the airport. Now, in another bit of news, the Pendergrass Holmseth feud is in full tilt. These two going at each other like stray cats fighting over garbage. Pendergrass made a declaration that the postmaster of the world had decided that the gang of thieves that surround Timothy Holmseth was too much of a pain in the ass to work with, and he has flown the coop. Which I honestly don't blame the guy. And so he and his Title IV flag are safely tucked away in some basement somewhere in the northwestern United States. So his name will fade into memory. Not sure if Tim is going to comment on all this. But Tim will go back to saying that the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force is working diligently on the Field McConnell situation. And since there's no such thing, we all know where that's going. So, at this juncture, we can assume that Field McConnell is tucked safely away in the county jail / barge, awaiting his vacation in the state of Florida, which will be coming up fairly soon. About another month and a half to go. Maybe, we're looking at end of February, first week of March, that he'll be leaving on a jet plane. Other than that, there really hasn't been a whole heck of a lot going on. Now, on the other half of this, I keep getting information about the Abzug case. And I do want to correct something I said in the previous video that someone pointed out, and that it was not expressly stated that there were guns in the car. Now, I have to go back and research that particular document, which I was not able to find in time to go through before I left for the airport. But I may try and do in time for this monologue, and I'll leave a note above this portion of it if I found the document that shows that there were guns in the car. There were, however, guns found in the house. She had a revolver from the description of the gun in an affidavit that I read. There's a 9-page affidavit out there, which is probable cause for issuing the warrant in the first place. And there were guns found in the house. There was also a tablet with a microphone on it. Presumably this is the tablet that she used to call in to various social media. Help fuel this woman's belief that her child had been taken, was being abused by pedophiles, was going to be used in satanic ritual abuses and all this other nonsense. So there's that. her case continues to chug forward. Apparently, there's a lot of information coming out. There's some information that I cannot discuss right now, but there is information coming out. And as soon as I'm allowed to dispense with knowledge that I'm obtaining, I'll pass it along to you. Now, the reason I'm holding back is because I've been asked to by those directly involved in the investigation that have allowed me a certain amount of inside information, not a lot, but more than is being dispensed to the general public as a whole, on the condition that I don't release this information until I've been instructed to be able to do so. There are some delicate matters that need to be ironed out before I can release this information, and that basically is what I'm waiting on. But the story is a rather interesting one, and it explains why there was a certain amount of activity going on in Plum City way back when I first reported my speculation that Stingray might have been employed. And I had indicated that Field McConnell may be in a lot more trouble than just harboring Timothy Holmseth. And that, in fact, is the case. It was found very early on of the alleged participation of Field McConnell, Kirk Pendergrass, and a number of other individuals in the Abzug case. And because of this knowledge, law enforcement had been observing the McConnell residence. And apparently they just missed apprehending the Miss Abzug and her companion, because they had left the area and before they could assemble a team to go in and arrest them or what have you. That is a theory I'm working on. I don't know for certain, but it would be interesting that if they had just gotten there in the nick of time, Field McConnell may have wound up in more trouble than he already is in. But he may have delayed the inevitable. Because if they can trace the weapons back to Field McConnell's going to have a lot of explaining to do. Because he will have been directly connected to aiding and abetting a kidnap of a child. See, there's something that people don't realize when it comes to this child and the people that were entrusted with his care. If this group of idiots had carried out their plan, the child may have been accidentally killed or injured in this exercise, and most certainly the people harboring the child would likely have been killed. Now, I have a copy of the police warrant, and I may try and put the police warrant up on this monologue. And the one thing the police report clearly states is that they intended a violent outcome to this. And that this may have, in fact, not only been an attempted kidnapping, but it may have been attempted murder. You know, if one reads this document, because it was clear that there was a possibility that they may have killed the people in the process of this kidnapping. And that would have escalated everything to murder and the commission of a felony. And in some states, not sure about Colorado or Montana or wherever the hell this child's at, this is murder and the commission of a felony. So, this is gradually getting into a rather serious situation for anyone even remotely involved in this case. And once again, I have to reiterate that if there is someone out there that has knowledge of who is behind the financing of all this and who is the actual ringleader, you need to get yourself a lawyer and you need to sit down and see just exactly what your culpability is in all this and decide whether or not you want to make a decision to either become a state's witness, make a plea bargain, or go for immunity from prosecution to get yourself out of what could be a very, very serious mess. Because the charges are serious enough to where law enforcement is not going to fool around. This is not skipping out on a court case for misdemeanor stalking. This is not some minor beef that one state has with you that it's only good in the state. This is a capital offense. This is a felony. And it's kidnapping. And if that child is outside the state of Colorado or was taken outside the state of Colorado in this kidnapping plot, this is interstate kidnapping, which is why the FBI is involved. Now, those details aren't exactly clear yet. From what I can read, this was an attempted kidnapping. It was a plot. And there's enough probable cause contained within the paperwork to see charges for attempted kidnapping. And those who supplied the weapons, those who supplied the car, those who gave this woman safe haven for all these months that she's been on the run, are aiding and abetting an attempted kidnapping. And they are just as guilty as anyone who would have carried out this kidnapping. And these people are also guilty of aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice, as I discussed yesterday. And the penalties for that are time in prison, possible fines, so on and so forth. So no matter what, these people are in trouble. And this is not even getting into the other things that these people are being investigated for. For there is still the fraud investigation. There is still this representing oneself as a government agent of the United States or representative or what have you that's being investigated. That has not gone away. But what apparently investigators have tried to do is they're prioritizing. They've got a case on the books right now that once things start moving in the justice system, they can start putting some people in jail for this kidnapping. And then once the kidnapping is out of the way, where everybody's sitting in jail and not being able to move because they got involved in this kidnapping, then they can go ahead with the other charges. This is what's known as a cascade effect. When one thing goes wrong and there's another thing that goes wrong and another thing that goes wrong and you just have all these things happening at once, it's called a cascade effect. This is what's going to be happening to the defendants in these various criminal actions. Is they're going to get caught up in a never-increasing number of charges. They're going to get hit with all the charges related to the kidnapping, and then they're going to get hit with all the charges relating to these fake charities that are out there, and then they're going to get hit with impersonation of an official or representative of the United States government. As Monty would say, ain't that neat? Because that is neat. So this may be the last year of freedom for a lot of people. Because you can only run so long. You can only avoid for so long. And the one thing I've noticed is that people have not stopped with their actions. They're still at it. Timmy is still at it. The field report's still at it. Everybody is still on this kick where they're agents or representatives of the United States government. They're still raking in the dough with this nonsense. And so, eventually, it's going to catch up to them. This has happened in the past. It's going to happen again. I'm not understanding why people don't realize that. People apparently have not done their research into what happens when people get caught up in these things. But they're going to find out. They're going to find out quickly. And then it'll be all over. So, I'm going to wrap this up because there simply isn't anything to talk about right now. It's Timothy Holmseth is still running his mouth about some weird theory. Bill McConnell is running his mouth because there's some weird theory. The Abza case is moving forward slowly but surely. Details are starting to come out. Everybody's running around on the various conspiracy theory blogs complaining about her arrest and all this other nonsense. And we move on day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, wondering just what the heck is going to happen down the road. I can assure you that one day soon, the proverbial shit is going to hit the fan. There's a lot out there that has yet to be uncovered and disclosed. And it's going to make for an interesting year. So until then, this is William K. Murtaugh. Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.